Well everyone, it's time for us to go and take a look at the Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 5 and see how this particular phone holds up in 2020. Now, the big thing I'm definitely going to tell you and the big thing I'd recommend doing here is that with a phone like the Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 5, this is a very, good device. It still is a, good premium phone. The only thing is that this phone, when compared to the most premium devices right now, like the Samsung Galaxy S24s, even the Galaxy S23s, the Flip devices, in my opinion, never held up as well compared to the standard S series of those particular years. So I would probably tell you, if you have all the money in the world and you don't care, then just go for this one. But I do think there are substantially better phones that I would recommend the average person to go and buy rather than this particular device. So let's go and take a look through it throughout this whole entire video. If you want to pick up some phones that I would recommend buying this year, links will be down in the description. You can get them from there and you can help support the channel at the exact same time. Now, starting off with the outside of this particular phone, there's a few different ways to look up, about it. There's the cover display that's on the front, but then there's the actual display once you open this thing that's on the front of this particular phone too. So on the front, you're getting that Super AMOLED, 3.4-inch cover display. It's basically a square display, and within that display, you can get a lot of information from your particular device. It's pretty close to what you could use, but it's not like an everyday thing. It's not like you would use this particular screen for every single day purposes. When you flip this thing open, that's when you're actually using this particular device. So when you flip it open, that's when you're getting the 6.7-inch foldable dynamic AMOLED display. And with this one, it's 1080p, it's 120 Hz, and it's a pretty good looking panel. I still think this type of phone looks great, and I think for the most part, there's really not too much to hate on here. I do feel like if you're going to go through and buy a particular phone, this thing doesn't look ugly, and it's a very, very good panel. But when compared to the Samsung Galaxy S24 or the S23, those panels are substantially better. You are definitely going to be getting better panels on those particular phones than this one, but the other big thing here too is that with these types of devices, you are probably going to be getting, a cheaper phone on those other devices too. So what is the point of even buying this phone when you can buy that one, and just get a cheaper phone that might just be better for you, an everyday purpose. So plus that flipping thing might be a little bit annoying for some people. Again, it won't be the most annoying thing in the world, but it can be kind of an annoying thing for some people out there. So that might be another small thing to kind of think about here too, for the most part. Beyond that though, I still think the Samsung Galaxy Flip 5 has a lot of capability. You're still getting a USB Type-C port on the bottom of this particular phone, which is really cool. You're getting a, very good feeling sides on these phones. And on the back side, you're still getting this frosted glass back, which is still very, very cool. Having that type of frosted glass back is very nice. And I think that's something that's very, very cool when you're going through and getting a device like this, because it makes it feel very premium. Even though it is a flipping phone, you're still getting that type of capability of flipping back and forth. Now you're getting that dual camera setup on the backside as well. You're still getting things like wireless charging and reverse wireless charging too, which is very, very cool. But beyond that, I would probably tell you that there's not a lot of reasons why this phone, is a phone to buy, or rather than if you really like that flipping thing. I think for the average person, like I said before, you are much better off purchasing devices that are probably, maybe not the flipping way of going about it. So just keep that in mind. Again, it's not the biggest deal in the world, but that is just one thing to kind of keep in mind there. Now, on top of that, another big thing to keep in mind here too is the fact that the Samsung Galaxy Flip 5 is going to be giving you basically still an expensive phone to buy. This is not a cheap phone by any means. This is a fairly expensive phone, and that is kind of what's going on when you're buying devices like this. These are not cheap phones, and that's probably the biggest problem when you're getting a phone like this, because you don't want to go through and just blow a bunch of money at one time. And with a phone like this, I'm not saying you're going to blow a bunch of money, but it is going to be a more expensive phone to buy rather than buying something like a standard Galaxy S series of that year. So once again, kind of keep that in mind there too. In terms of the cameras, this is another pretty big thing as well. So you're getting that dual camera setup on the backside, a 12 megapixel wide and then a 12 megapixel ultra wide camera. And on the front side, you're getting a 10 megapixel wide angle camera. So with this type of camera, it's good, but it's not good enough, in my personal opinion. When you compare this particular camera against something like the Samsung Galaxy, like the other cameras, like the Galaxy S23, S24, those particular phones are going to be giving you a little bit of a different type of experience. So with this type of device, there's no 8K capability on the backside, and you're not even getting 4K 60 on the front. That's a really big disadvantage for a phone like this. I really do feel like if you're going to go through and buy a phone, this is a really big disadvantage, because I really do feel like if you're going to go through and buy a device, with this type of camera, why buy this camera? It's already substantially outdated, and it just doesn't make any sense to go and buy a camera like this when you can go buy a different one that's going to be giving you an overall better experience. So that again, is just another big thing to kind of keep in mind here. I think this camera in some ways is good and it's fine, But like I said, you are substantially better off buying something like a Samsung Galaxy S series of the year or a different type of device rather than this one. It doesn't make a lot of sense to go and buy this type of phone, and that's just kind of what ends up happening when you're buying devices like this once again. So this type of camera, I'm just not that big of a fan of, and I definitely do think you could definitely do a much better job with other types of cameras rather than this one. So once again, kind of keep that in mind here. Now in terms of software, this phone is good in some ways. It's lasting as long basically as the Galaxy S23. So that's a really good thing. I love being able to buy a phone like this and have a phone that's going to be lasting for quite a bit of time. So that is something that's actually really, really cool. The disadvantage for this phone though, I will say, is that when compared to potentially the Samsung Galaxy Flip 6, with a phone like this, it's probably not going to be lasting as long as a Flip 6, which we already know, but it's going to be lasting substantially not as long. So if the Galaxy Flip 6 lasts as long basically as the Flip, as the Galaxy S24, that phone is going to be lasting a substantially longer amount of time than something like the Samsung Galaxy Flip 5. We're talking about many, many years on top of what already you should be getting. So that's another pretty big advantage for that type of phone. And I do think that in of itself is another very big thing. Getting a phone like this in and of itself is a very, very big change. And I really do feel like that in of itself was an awesome thing. So I will tell you from a software perspective, that in of itself is a really, really big thing going on for that particular phone. Now, in terms of the performance, this phone is going to be giving you that the Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 chipset inside with 8 gigabytes of RAM. Now, with this type of performance, I think in a lot of ways it's very, very good, right? It's one of the best performing phones you can still buy, and I do think that's a really cool thing going on for these types of phones. Like if you're going through and getting a phone like this, I love having the fact that this type of device is going to be giving you that premiumness, that type of experience. And I think this is a very cool thing going on for this particular device in and of itself. Now, I do think on top of that, with a phone like this, take it as you will, but it's not the best of the best. And, there's phones that are going to be better performing than these ones. And then you have to keep in mind this particular year, you're also going to be getting a little bit of a device that's not going to be lasting as long. That's not going to be the best performing device of this year either, because we're already getting phones that are way better than this thing. So I don't think it's the biggest deal in the world, but you are definitely going to be getting substantially better devices in most ways from something like the Galaxy S24s of this year or the Flip 6 that comes out. But still, I think this particular phone is still very, very good for the most part. And to kind of sum it up, what I'll definitely tell you, I definitely like the Galaxy Flip 5. I think in a lot of ways it's a good phone and there's still a lot of good capability within it, but I will probably tell you for the average person, buying a phone like the Samsung Galaxy S24 or the Samsung Galaxy S23 is probably going to be the substantially better experience for the average person. That's what I'd recommend. I don't really recommend any other phone to the average person rather than these ones. So once again, take that as you will. But that's kind of how I see these particular devices holding up, in 2024. If you have any other thoughts or questions, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that'll mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.